Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Wine Wild, and for those of you who don't know me, hi, I post fun content on this channel like this ranking video. So if you're interested, check me out on Saturday. I post every Saturday. Alright, so today it's going to be ranking all 14 X-Men movies, including Deadpool and Wolverine. I watched all these movies over the summer, and then went back and watched them just a few months ago, because Deadpool and Wolverine were released on Disney Plus in November, so. By the way, I hope you guys all had a great new year. Happy 2025, everyone. Alright, so before we get started, for those of you who don't know the X-Men, they are mutants that are taught by this guy named Charles Xavier at a school for the gifted. For mutants, basically. They fight for the humans even though they despise and hate them, but no matter how bad it gets, they save them from mutants, aliens, and more destructive things, and they're just amazing. So without further ado, let's get into these rankings. In last place, X-Men Apocalypse. I just despise this film. It had too many plot points pushed into all together. They went from the Apocalypse twist, they went from the Apocalypse plot, then they did a little thing with Magneto's family. I actually did like that. Like, I liked how they put Magneto having a family, and then him losing it. Of course, we know we didn't lose. Of course, we know his daughter didn't die. Because guess what? She's the Scarlet Witch in the MCU. So, well, I didn't know that until a few months ago. But hey, who knows? I don't know why they decided to do that. They just have too many plot points. Like I said, they go that from the Apocalypse plot to Magneto's family dying, back to the Apocalypse plot. Like, they had great ideas, but they didn't stick with the storyline, to the point that with the Apocalypse film, with the Apocalypse plot, they had him touch a TV screen and say the Storm, learning. Like, that's terrible. Nothing about this film is good, other than maybe the final battle. But even that's not good, because they do Magneto kind of dirty in this film. Like I said, I like what they did with his family, but they do him dirty. Like, Apocalypse gives him all the power in the world, but he doesn't do anything. The most he does in the final battle is he makes a bunch of garbage float around him, and then he turns over back to the good side and helps makes him to be Apocalypse. Like, they did him dirty. Nothing about this film is good. Nothing about this film is good. I don't like it at all, and I probably will never rewatch it. In 13th place, X-Men Dark Phoenix. They had a good story. Well, at least they tried. But they didn't really do on the whole Dark Phoenix thing. They made Jean a conflicted character in this one, and it does not really work. So it makes her conflicted, and with me, I feel like the Dark Phoenix should be, it takes over Jean completely. Like, it should not be conflicting at all. She should be this villain, and she stays with that until, like, something happens. But with every Dark Phoenix story, she happens to be normal, and then she unalives herself at the last minute, does the same whole, because we all know the Phoenix is dangerous. It can go supernova and destroy the whole world. But it doesn't, like I said, the story was all over the place with this one. The only thing that really we got to focus on was Mystique's death, which also was really strange. I don't know why they decided to kill her off in this one. And this is funny, because this was supposed to be the better version of the Dark Phoenix take in the live-action X-Men universe. Because the original director of the original trilogy wasn't able to direct The Last Stand, so he came back for this one, and he thought that this was the better one, but I don't even think it was. I feel like The Last Stand did the Phoenix story just a little bit better than this one. The really only thing I really like from Dark Phoenix is the train scene, like the final battle with the train, and it's because they did multiple reshoots of it, and it blended in so perfectly. The action in that scene was top notch. That's the only good thing about this film that I like, and I will probably only go back to rewatch film just for the scene, or even better, just search the scene up on YouTube. In 12th place, X-Men The Last Stand. This is just slightly above Dark Phoenix just because I feel like this film did a slightly better job with the Dark Phoenix story because they made Jean Grey an actual villain not really conflicted until the very last 10 minutes of the film. And I like the Dark Phoenix story, how they did it, but everything in this film was rushed. Cyclops' death, we don't even have time to process it before we find out that Magneto has built an underground mutant revelation, and we have to go stop that. Then we don't have time to focus on Charles Xavier. That's what we do a little bit. They have enough time to do a funeral for him, but not enough until we have to move on to the next plot. Like, this movie was really, really, really rushed. That we don't have time to focus on things. And the fact is, it's shy of 15 minutes of 2 hours. Like, I feel like if we just pushed that last 15 minutes in it and made it a 2 hour long film, we might have had time to focus just a little bit on maybe more Cyclops' death. Because at least we had a funeral for Charles Xavier. We didn't even get to acknowledge Cyclops' death yet. And it sucks because they couldn't have done better on Cyclops' death, but they chose not to. I really like how they did Logan feeling really saddened by having to execute Jean Grey, but it's still a really rushed movie, and I feel like they could have done better. In 11th place, X-Men Origins Wolverine. I can see the criticisms in this film, but I don't understand why they give them so hate. It's so hated. That's why it's not really that low for me. I like the action. The action between the whole chopper chase scene between Logan and that agent was really cool. I like how the action-packed pack that they had, the final battle between Victor and Logan and Deadpool was kind of cool. But I can agree with the criticisms that Wolverine's claws look so cartoonish. They didn't make it look real unlike the other films. They made it look so cartoonish. I don't know if it was because the budget was low or something, but it still wasn't a really good film. But the action was good. And it's not really a bad film. If we really tend to watch it, like, it set up what those of you who watched these movies in release order, I watched it in timeline order. For those of you who were kind of confused in how Logan lost his memories when watching the first X-Men, this actually did a pretty good understanding how he lost his memories, and yeah, honestly, make you feel more for Logan. So, it's not a bad film. It just, I can see the criticisms in Wolverine's claws, that's all, really. With this film, it's not really a bad film, but it's not really great either. In 10th place, The New Mutants, though, what was supposedly the last, well, actually it was the last 20th Century Fox X-Men film made, and I like the premise of the horror types in it, like a mutant horror film, but it didn't really have a story to go off. It focused on a bunch of different characters and didn't really do well with alternizing them. Like, I wish we had a little bit, maybe like 20 minutes focusing on each individual character at once, and then we had the whole group, but no, we just kept flipping back between the main character, meeting them, and having a different relationship with them. So, there's not really much to say about this film. Everyone puts this film at the very bottom of this list, but I honestly think it's mid. It's not a good film, but it's not a bad film either. And there's not really much to say on this film. The whole last fight scene with the bear was kind of cool. I kind of like the CGI that they put on the bear. It's still not a really, really good film, and I can see the criticisms, and I can understand why people don't really like it, but it's not a bad film by any means necessary. Next up is Deadpool. I like the comedy in this film. I like how they made Deadpool a fourth wall breaking character, because I don't really see that more often. To be fair, this was the first introduction I had with Deadpool, and I love how he's this, like, fourth wall breaker. It's just a funny film, but once again, the story was all over the place. They just packed too much comedy and not much seriousness. So there's not really much to say about this film. It's an enjoyable rewatch. That's all, really. In eighth place, X-Men. No, sorry, Deadpool 2. This one I like more than Deadpool 1 because it had some seriousness in it. It had more seriousness dealing with, like, a traumatized kid and Deadpool actually being serious in the final battle and actually caring for someone. Then that's what the first film did really wrong. They just packed a bunch of comedy in and expected us to laugh our heads off, and we did. They did a good job at that. But I really wish the first film had more seriousness in it, and the second one actually did. So that's why Deadpool 2 is ahead of Deadpool 1, and I like the whole relationship between Wade and Russell. That was just a really great time to watch. In seventh place, The Wolverine, the second installment in the Wolverine trilogy, and this film was great. Had a few issues in the third act with the Silver Samurai fight. The whole, like, instead of a big battle between Logan and a great fighter, they just put the bad guy in an armor and expected us to enjoy it, but really, the only good thing about that fight was Logan's, like, fiery samurai sword that he has, and that was really only the good part of that fight. And it's a good film. I enjoy it. I like how they continue off X in the last game with Logan traumatized at him killing Jean, and basically him finding himself. I watched a deleted scene for this movie a few days ago, and I really wish it was included, of him getting his classic yellow suit. That would have been so good and probably would have put this movie higher for me if they actually included that. I'm actually kind of mad that they deleted it. Just like Avengers Endgame when they deleted the whole Avengers bowing to Tony at the end of Endgame. That I really wish they included that deleted scene. In sixth place, X-Men, the original. They had a great time making this film, and it was a great start to the 20th Century Fox X-Men take. The characters didn't really have an involved character development, but that's expected in the first film if you're planning on making a franchise off it. You have to, like, meet the characters, do a character development, meet the main bad guy, and then fight the main bad guy. And they did that. But they didn't really have character growth, and that's more what X-Men 2 and X-Men The Last Stand did. But it's still a really good film, and I enjoy watching it, and I will probably rewatch it. And the whole thing with Magneto and Charles Xavier's friendship, well, not really friendship in this film, but it's a good take on their relationship that, thankfully, First Class put into our minds and really made us feel bad for how things turned out with them, because they seem like such good friends, and I just like this film so much. In fifth place, X2, X-Men United. This film did everything great. It focused on Logan's backstory more. It focused on Jean Grey's purpose as an X-Men. It focused more on Cyclops' relationship with Jean Grey. This film did a great job as a sequel, and I really and this is my favorite out of the original trilogy, just because Wolverine's my favorite character, and I just love backstory out of him, so I just love how they explain that. Not really clear, that's why X-Men Origins did his backstory just a little bit better, but not saying it's higher than this, but it still did a really good job on his backstory. Stryker was a great villain. I really wish they did more of him than just a couple scenes. He's in, like 5 scenes max in that movie. I really wish they did more of him, and that's really all the complaints I have about that film. But it's a good film and my favorite out of the original show. In fourth place, X-Men First Class. The first film in the reboot series, and I really wish this film was released first because it makes so much sense to release an origin story first. And if you're gonna planning on doing a whole universe, you need to release the origin of the characters first. And this film did a great job as the X-Men's origin. The relationship between Charles and Eric was really good. I actually started tearing up when they parted ways on the beach because they had such a good friendship. The training of the X-Men in the school was really cool to see. The way they did Mystique and Beast's relationship is kind of like a little bit weird because they have Beast, Hank, and Raven, but they also have Raven and Eric, which is kind of, I know there's a thing as a love square, since that was kind of a weird thing to put as a last minute relationship crisis between the two. But it's still a really good film nonetheless, and it's a great origin story, and I really wish this was the first released film. It was the other complaint, Beast's makeup was really bad. It was pure CGI, and X-Men Days of Future Past did a better job on his makeup, I think. In third place, X-Men Days of Future Past. I loved this movie so much. The Sentinels were great choices, the minions of the bad guys. Oliver Trask was a great villain. I liked bringing in the couplet of... I like how they brought a good couplet of the original trilogy, as well as the newest reboot trilogy, and they did a great... The timeline was confusing, but they did it in a way that you can't help but love it, and really fully enjoy it. And this film is a great film, and I honestly think of it as the true ending to the 20th century Fox X-Men universe. Of course it wasn't, but the way the movie ended, I really feel like this should have been the ending of 20th Century Fox X-Men universe, because they ended it basically how we always wanted it since the trilogy. They ended it basically everything like Logan's the professor, Jean's alive, everyone we lost in the original trilogy is back, Charles is fine, we don't know what happened with Eric in that at that time, but it's still a really good ending. I really feel like this should have been the final ending of the X-Men universe. In second place, runner-up is Deadpool and Wolverine. The cameos, the comedy, the bringing back of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine was phenomenal. The only complaint I have with this film is that they ruined Logan's story plot. The whole point of Logan's ending was that Logan was finally in peace. Like, he finally died, defending someone he loved, and he was finally at peace after 200 years of living, and then they just decided to bring him back just for the sake, well, not really for the sake Hugh Jackman decided to come back. He stated in an interview, I was done after Logan, but then I watched Deadpool and wanted to make a Deadpool Wolverine film, which I don't really see as a reason to come back, but I'm glad he did. I don't know if this was the last film Hugh Jackman will ever play as Wolverine. I really hope not. I really like his character, but that's really the only complaint I have in this film, that they ruined Logan's story plot. And they didn't really change Wolverine's character. Like, it's still Hugh Jackman. He still does the same thing he did in the original 20th Century Fox universe. Basically every Wolverine was Hugh Jackman, except that one cameo scene with Henry Cavill, that he's basically destined to be the next Wolverine after Hugh Jackman leaves, I guess, because Deadpool says, the Cavalrine. I'm sorry, I had to make that joke. But it's a good film, nonetheless. It's just that one thing with ruining Logan's end plot was that's the only complaint I have with this film. But in first place, Logan. This movie was phenomenal. The character development, the deaths, the relationship between Laura and Logan was just phenomenal. Like I said, I don't really think they should have made this. Like I said, Days of Future Past, I feel like, was the true ending to Logan's story and the whole X-Men universe. But I'm glad that he came back for this, and you really feel the emotion when Logan dies, because not only is his character dying, but we basically, at that time, everyone thought that Hugh Jackman was done as Wolverine, because at that time, he was the one who stated in the interview that he was done. He was hanging up the claws, and we really felt the deep emotion when Laura turned his cross to an X. I didn't particularly cry. Don't hate on me for not crying on that one. I teared up, but I didn't, like, bawl, as I'm sure a lot of people did. And don't hate on me for that, guys, but that's just how I felt. I teared up, though. Like, I definitely teared up in that scene. It was such a beautiful scene, and I really felt for Laura, because she finally found a dad, someone that cared about her, and then she loses him just like that. But let me know your ranking of the X-Men films down in the comments below, as well as, and I'm sorry for all the cuts and interruptions in this video. People kept coming into my room, and I had to keep pausing because I was talking to them, so apologies for the 5 cuts in this, but just let me know in the comments below where you would rank these 14 X-Men films. My list is not the right list, it's just the way I picked them, and I would love to hear what you guys think. Wyatt, signing up. But remember, peace and kindness, the things we need most. Stay wild.